Hi, and welcome to our series on collections management topics. I'm Tim for the BCMA, and today I'm going to show you the do's and don'ts of cleaning some artifacts. In all but exceptional circumstances, the decision to clean an artifact should be based on the preservation needs of the artifact rather than on the aesthetics or the way it looks. Dusty, dirty artifacts can attract moisture to them and cause microclimates that would cause metals to rust or wood to swell or veneers to crack, even in an environment that might be dry enough otherwise. Dirt and dust is often gritty as well and can cause abrasive damage to your artifacts. So it really is in the best interest to clean off whatever dirt will easily come off of an artifact. If you have anything that's really dirty, really deeply encrusted though, that should be left to a professional conservator to clean, as removing this type of dirt can sometimes cause more damage than do good. Cleaning should take the form of mechanical rather than chemical cleaning. That means we don't use any oils or furniture polishes, not even water. You just want a nice gentle brushing action with a soft brush. Anything that doesn't come off like this is probably best to leave it on. In some cases, if you have a really stable finish, you can use a vacuum cleaner with a nylon brush attachment to it. And this has the advantage of sucking up the dust and removing it entirely away from the artifact. With brushing, a certain amount of dust is going to settle back onto the piece. For particularly fine or delicate pieces, the brush can be used in association with the vacuum, where you can brush towards the running nozzle, so you're not actually putting the vacuum attachment onto the artifact, but still sucking up the excess grit. Textiles can be cleaned with vacuuming as well to remove any grit, sand, or dust that may be embedded in the fibers. But with textiles, particularly ones such as these that may have loose threads on it, we don't want to use the vacuum cleaner on it directly. It may suck up one of these loose threads and unravel the piece you're working on. A piece of nylon window screen laid over the textile will make sure that any of the fibers are held in place. And then starting at one end and working systematically across the piece will bring up loose dust and dirt fibers. Particular care has to be given when dealing with unstable finishes, such as flaking paint. In some cases, you don't want to have a vacuum cleaner or any kind of suction near these, as it'll just suck up more of the historic finish. Just a gentle brushing in these areas should do it, and sometimes maybe not even that. If it looks like you're causing damage to a piece, stop what you're doing and leave it alone. Wet washing is an acceptable practice for things that are going to be completely impervious to moisture. This includes most glass, fully glazed ceramics, archaeological stone tools, at least in cases where the archaeological pieces aren't required to be subject to further examination for a residue analysis. Washing will remove traces that might be important to some course of study. Pieces that shouldn't be washed, not even damp washed, treating with a damp cloth, include most wooden pieces, some metal pieces, particularly ones that might have hollow handles in them that would trap moisture, as well as plastics and most anything that's made out of more than one type of material. In rare cases, it may be appropriate to wet wash certain textiles, but make sure that it's something that isn't lined, isn't a very complicated piece. Things like cotton handkerchiefs or possibly shirts, but anything too complicated, best to contact the textile conservator for proper cleaning. Never take any historic fabric to be dry cleaned. Dry cleaning chemicals are very harsh, and historic fabrics just generally won't stand up to it. The best thing that can be done for leather artifacts is to give them a stable environment to rest in. That's one with relative humidity between 35 and 60% and temperature that's around 16 to 20 degrees Celsius. Don't use saddle soap or dubbin or any other kinds of oils or waxes on leather. These are products that are intended to prolong the life of working leather, and the leather really has to be moving and worked to get the maximum use out of those products. In stored leather, these products will just cause the leather to harden and become brittle. At the very best, it will leave soap scum that will constantly be exuding out of the surface of the leather, which isn't very attractive and isn't very good for the life of the artifact. It used to be a common practice in museums to think that wooden artifacts, especially furniture, needed to be fed, that needed to be oiled regularly or waxed. This is not the case. The best thing to do for wooden artifacts is to provide them with a stable environment where the humidity is controlled. They don't need to be waxed or oiled, and in many cases, new waxes and oil finishes can interfere with historic finishes. Same with tarnished metals. They may not look the best, and you might not want to have silver like this at a dinner party, but the dark oxide finish is a stable finish that will prevent any further deterioration of the surface. Polishing that off will just expose new, fresh metal, which will in turn darken and oxidize again. And every time you polish a piece, you're taking off a very fine amount of metal. Many collections will show examples of over-polished silverware where the base metal is starting to show through, that the silver layer is completely removed. Hopefully you picked up a few things today to know how to clean artifacts when it's really necessary to do so, and when it's okay to leave them as they are. For other tips and tutorials, be sure to check out other videos in this series on the BCMA's website. Thanks.